Haitian community didn't scatter. They organized. They fought back. They stood together. After the government announced it was ending the temporary protection status for over 500,000 Haitians, families who have lived here for decades, panic spread. People rushed to get passports for their US-born children, fearing they get deported to a country they have never seen.
I'm so freaking proud of the Haitian community. This is how you do it. If we all did exactly what they did, we could do this. We got to stand together. All I've been saying is fight back. Do not let them get you.
It's always important to take a look at what's going on around the world in order to understand what's going on in your own backyard, especially nowadays. The Times of India had a story, paying schoolgirls to have babies. Russia gives financial incentives for teen mothers, part of worldwide trend. Now, I've been talking about the fact that Trump was claiming he was going to give $5,000 tax rebates or credits or whatever it was to women trying to get them pregnant, trying to get them to have children. But what he doesn't seem to understand, and what I've pointed out before, $5,000 is virtually nothing. If you're really trying to get these women pregnant, you got to offer them like $50,000. But the bottom line is that's still not enough, because the majority of them, what they're looking for is housing. In the old days of communism in the Soviet Russian, what they had to do was they were basically giving all types of incentives, one of which was housing. If you take a look at Hungary, for example, right now, Hungary, if you have a certain number of children, they actually give you a free minivan. But housing is really the biggest issue right now. And realistically, if they're trying to get these women to drop babies, they're going to have to offer them basically the equivalent of luxury condos or luxury apartments. $5,000 is nothing. $5,000 is less than half of what it cost me to go on a business class vacation last year to Bali and Singapore. $5,000. In fact, I'm staring at it right now. My computer, I have an Alienware Area 51. That was $5,000. And to have the what is it called? RTX 5090 in it. You're either paying $5,000 or you're paying $6,000, because Alienware likes to overcharge on SSD memory, and they also like to overcharge on RAM. So $5,000 ain't much, you know. That's like a summer vacation job. It's like, that's not that much. But let's look at the story. It says, amid countries' declining birth rates, several regions in Russia have started paying pregnant schoolgirls over 100,000 rubles. That's around, it says, lira 900. I think that comes out to about $1,000 US, something around that, because their money is worth a little bit more, to give birth and raise their children. News agency PTI reported the initiative, recently expanded to 10 regions, is a part of a broader demographic strategy aimed at reversing the country's declining birth rate. First of all, if you take a look at divorce rates, Russia and Ukraine are at the top of the list. As far as divorce rates, yeah, they're pretty much number one. Now, as far as birth rates and fertility rates, they are declining just like most of Europe and just like America is. If you take a look at the census, the last census that they did, I believe it was 2020, 2020, the 2020 census. And I pointed this out before. One of the things that they showed in the census was that Asians and Hispanic Americans, they had increasing birth rates. Asians had a larger jump in birth rates. Hispanics had a smaller jump in birth rates than the Asians did. White women stayed flat. Like, there was no real decline and there was no real increase either. But blacks were down. So all Trump is worried about is white women. And the simple fact is, modern white women have rejected this idea. I'm gonna show you the picture in a minute. They've rejected, first of all, because of like these stupid dating apps that I've pointed out before in another video, they don't even want to have children with these dudes no more. A lot of them are exogamous. Like, they feel that they have the power and that they don't have to be beholden to a man. So they can choose whoever they want to have as their mate. And a lot of them are not having children with white men. That's leaving a lot of white men in these stories that you're reading about, like in the New York Times and whatnot, like Daniel, that kid Daniel, that they had in the New York Times, and they used him as a poster boy. That's leaving them to basically have either no choice in a mate, or they're, doing the smart thing and getting their passports and going to Asia and going to South America and getting wives. But the problem is, they're getting these wives, but it's very difficult to bring them back, because if you bring them back, now you got to worry about them, going out in society, getting a job, and possibly cheating on you and leaving you because there's a dude at their job who's younger than you. Because a lot of these dudes, these are not, these dudes are gradually aging. So by the time they decide to leave and look for a wife, the best logical option that they have is to retire in another country. Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, whatever it is, if they retire in another country, they don't have to worry about bringing women back here. And they also don't have to worry about, divorce, because some of those countries don't even really have divorce, like the Philippines. Sooner or later, they're going to try to put it into law that they have divorce, but for the time being, they don't have it. So anyway, back to the story. It says the scheme builds on a policy introduced in March 2025 that initially applied only to adult women, with Russia's fertility rate at just 1.41 births per woman in 2023, well below the 2.05 needed to sustain population levels. The government is now widening its approach. Now, to put this in simple terms, they expect every married couple to have at least 3 children. When they use these numbers like 2.05 and everything, just suffice to say, they expect you to have at least 3 children. I think they used to say the number was like 2.8, but instead of using a fraction for a child, no, just say 3 children. That keeps it nice and simple so everybody can understand what we're talking about. Let's see. I guess that's it. That's man, I hate it when these stories are short. Like they make these stories so short. But yeah, simple conclusion. Europe's birth rate is shrinking. So what did Europe start doing? Europe started letting in more and more foreigners. Now, of course, the far right-wing white supremacists hate the fact that Europe is doing that. But you're also seeing that happen in Far East Asia, China, Japan, Korea. I've already showed stories, specifically when I do Passport Bro content, which this could be part of it, where Japan was literally saying that they have to let foreigners come in because their women are so part of the capitalist system and working and whatnot that their women have decided to put off childbirth in order to have a career. In social studies, in sociology, they refer to that as the mommy track. Some women choose the mommy track and they actually go and have children and they stay at home and this, that, and other and take care of them. But a lot of women choose the career track, and the career track is where these women go out, make their money. So I'm on the highway and all you see is all these lonely women in their little BMW X3 or their BMW X2 or their X1, or they're in their little Mercedes GLC, or they're in their Mercedes GLA because they couldn't afford the GLC because rent is kicking their ass. You get my point. They're out there, what did they call them? Boss babes. You know, I haven't sang the song in a while. All the ladies, independent, throw your hands up in the air. That's what they're out there doing. They've chosen to be independent. All the ladies, independent, throw your hands up in the air. They've chosen to be independent women. They've chosen not to have children. They've literally chosen this, and it's ruining family, for one. It's causing lots of societal issues. And it's also the reason why immigration is so high. These countries would not be allowing these immigrants. Like, think about this. This is Europe. They don't want African immigrants coming there, but they ain't got no choice. Even Russia. Russia was talking about the same exact thing. Russia was talking about allowing immigrants to come in there, specifically from Africa and South America. They don't want to do that. And the reality is most of them Africans don't want to go to Russia. It's cold up there. Japan is talking about it. South Korea is talking about it. They don't want these people coming there. And I totally agree with them to some extent. I want Japan to be Japan. If I go to Japan, I expect Japan to be Japan. It's going to be Japanese. People speak Japanese. Japanese food is everywhere and blah, blah, blah. If I go to South Korea like I did in 2019, I expect it to be South Korea. And I expect everybody to be Korean. And I expect to have Korean food and blah, blah, blah. These countries have realized that if their birth rates and fertility rates decline, if their divorce rates continue to rise, eventually they're going to be wiped out. They are going to be assimilated into the larger overarching Western conglomerate, and their cultures, their homogenous cultures, are going to be wiped out. I don't want to see that happen to Japan or China or South Korea. I don't want to see that happen, but the problem is it's happening. I told this story a million times. The Japanese, they refuse to marry women over 25. The Chinese do too. The Chinese men, the Japanese men, the South Korean men, they refuse to marry these women if they over 25. And the reason why is because they figured, it's like, I need a young wife. I need a young wife, and I can have healthy children. And that's the bottom line. You can call them misogynists, you can call them predators, you can call them pedophile, whatever you want to call them. They don't give a fuck. But the simple fact is they want to have young wives and they want to, have families, and they're not getting it because these women have decided to go into college and go into universities. They're getting PhDs. Most of them are worthless, and they're spending all their time in school. And what's that doing? It's causing their birth rates to decline. I mean, the proof is here. They're trying to have all these incentives, and it's not working. America has a had a child tax credit for a reason. It was an incentive to have children. And now you got, like, when Trump, poor Trump, who's mentally ill at this point. I think everybody understands that because I was watching this guy explain the Florida, like how he was going to have alligators on border control. And he was like, yeah, the snakes chase you in one direction, but the alligators, you got to kind of run to the side like this. And I'm listening to this shit. And I'm like, this fucking guy's crazy. But he thinks it's as simple as just offering people money, paying Stormy Daniels to shut her mouth. He thinks it's that simple. It's not that simple. You don't just get to offer a couple of dollars and you think your problems are going to go away. That's not how this works. These governments, these countries, they have reached a situation where they're falling behind. They're in decline. America has just reached $37 trillion of debt. Now, I was using $37 trillion back when we were at 36.5, but we quickly reached 37 so quick until I didn't even nobody even bothered challenging me on the fact that I was using 37, and now we're 37 trillion in debt. Where the fuck are they going to get money to pay all these women to drop babies $5,000 each? Where are they going to get that money? The answer is they're not. That's the simple fact. They're not going to get it. This country, Europe, Far East Asia, they're all in decline. When I was down there in Southeast Asia, and I was in Jakarta, and I was in Bali, and I was in Singapore, there was no shortage of children. Them women down there are beholden to their men, and they having babies. And I showed it in the video that I made while I was down in Bali. Every single mall, every single store, everything was child friendly. Everything was maternity friendly. Everything was focused on childbirth. That's it. And then I look back here in New York, and I think to myself, it's like, there's like not much to do, and it's like really boring. It's like we have a couple of amusement parks, But you have to leave New York City really to get to them. Now, I know somebody will say, oh, yeah, well, we have Rye Playland. But Rye Playland is old. Yeah, there's Great Adventure, but you got to drive to New Jersey for that. There's Adventureland, but you got to go to Farmingdale, Long Island for that. Race tracks for those race cars, those like boomers. You got to go to Long Island for those things. New York City and most of these large populous cities, these things are not child friendly. They're not child friendly. They're not maternity friendly. When you go to Singapore, you don't need a car. You can take the train, you can take the bus, you can get just about everywhere by train or bus. It's very simple. New York City is kind of like that, but a lot of these other cities aren't like that, especially like you go down to Florida. Florida, you have to have a car. They don't have metro expansive enough to get you everywhere. These places are not child friendly, and that's the biggest problem. So I'm gonna say it one last time: $5,000. That's fucking pocket money for me. I used to make $5,000 easy on YouTube when I'd go live. I'd showed off the receipts. I would go live for hours, and I would make that kind of money. Unfortunately, you had to pay taxes, but my computer right here. My computer's $5,000. It's almost more than $5,000, but it's pocket money, man. That's not enough. What you got to do is you got to offer them houses, or you got to offer them luxury apartments. Because the reality is, these single, lonely women, they're not taking care of a house. I got a house. I'm sitting in my house. You could probably hear my ceiling fan running. I love my ceiling fan. I had to go out yesterday. I got some, what are those things? Planters. If you have a house, you got to do stuff to your house to make it look nice. Like, your house will fall apart if you don't keep it up. Now, these luxury condos, these luxury apartment buildings, that's what Trump needs to be offering these women to have children. Because they can't take care of no goddamn house. If your roof is leaking, if your boiler goes out, if the air conditioner stops working, these lonely ass women, they ain't. You think they can lift? I had to take a boiler out of a house with my uncle helped me. Do you think they lifting a 200 or 300 pound water boiler? Of course not. They're going to either have to call a man to do it or call a bunch of men to do it. But these luxury apartment condos, they ain't got to worry about that. If anything goes wrong, it goes wrong in a central location. People come in, they fix it, and then they disappear that quickly. In fact, most of them are designed so well that things almost never go wrong. So the simple fact of the matter is, yeah, you're not going to get these women pregnant unless you're offering them housing. A couple of $1,000s here and there, these women will take that money and waste it. They will take that money and they will waste it on jewelry. They'll waste it on some stupid Coach or Birkin bag or some stupid nonsense. You can't give them money. Now, at least if you give them a house, that's something that they can't pawn and easily buy something else with it. Like, they can't go and buy one of those stupid Coach bags or one of those stupid Birkin bags and waste all that goddamn money on stupid fake leather products and stuff that's probably cheap, and they make the price real high to get stupid people to buy it, and then they waste all that money. And meanwhile, if you look at the truth behind these luxury goods, they produce so much of the stuff it doesn't sell. So what do? They end up destroying it. They just destroy it just to keep it out of poor people's hands. So you go out and waste $15,000, $5,000 on a bag. It's just stupid. But that's the reason why we're in decline, so I'm not surprised at all. At first, you might think that it's not related, but it really is. And I'm going to entitle it The Rise of Socialism in America. Because as far as I'm concerned, America is slowly turning into what I saw over there in China. America is slowly having a communist revolution. I'm not a communist. I'm a strong capitalist. But I can see exactly the cycle that causes capitalism to slowly shift towards communism and socialism. I could see it. After living in China and hearing the stories for those people about the communist revolution, I could see what's happening here. And Trump and, some of these Republicans, they're worried about this guy right here, Zohran Mamdani. his win came with support from Asian and black voters, right? And I was looking to find out what the demographics of his supporters were, because I was having an argument. With one of my family members, because I'm always having political arguments and I always tend to be right. But anyway, I was having an argument about who was supporting him. He was like, yeah, Zohran's not getting in. And I was like, there's a very good chance that he will get in there. Now, I already explained this. They pushed Andrew Cuomo out of the governorship and they put Hochul in there, right? When Eric Adams got in, everybody was okay with it right up until Eric Adams went against the flow of illegal immigration into New York City that was causing crime to go up. Prostitution was going up. Gangs were increasing. We were starting to have more and more stabbings because it's not easy to buy guns here. We were starting to have more shootings because of smuggled guns into the state. So the reality is, yeah, they didn't have a problem with Eric Adams until he started going against what they were allowed to happen with illegal immigration. That was because of Kamala Harris. That was because of Joe Biden. Because they could have stopped it, but they didn't do anything to stop it. And Trump keeps pointing, Joe Biden, that 20 million illegal aliens. What Trump doesn't talk about is the fact that Governor Abbott, Hot Wheels in Texas, was shipping these people, trafficking these people to my state by bus. And ultimately, it was a brilliant plan. What they did was they spread the pain around. It used to be nobody here in New York cared what was happening at the Texas border. What Abbott did was brought the Texas border to New York. Something should have been done to stop him, but Biden and Harris did nothing. If I had been president, Abbott would have been wheeled out of where the governor's mansion in cuffs. And I would have sent people, if I was president, I would have had Secret Service or whoever's loyal to me. They would have gone down there and Abbott would have rolled out of there in cuffs. And the charge would have been human trafficking. But that never happened. So the simple fact is they brought them people up here and it caused even Hispanic residents to want to get rid of them people. And that's why you see so many videos about, oh yeah, I voted for Trump. Viva la Mexico. Yeah, I voted for Trump. And then next thing you know, they show the next video. Oh, he used us. He lied to us. So anyway, yeah, what's past is past. Bottom line is we're facing the possibility of Zohran Mamdani. We're facing that possibility. And they don't understand, how did this guy get this far? I totally understand how this guy got this far. These people are willing to shrug aside racism and xenophobia because their pockets are hurting. New York City is unaffordable. Now, I got my houses. New York City is unaffordable. If you want to buy even a starter house in a poor neighborhood, you're still paying over $500,000. That's ridiculous. Once you go beyond about $250,000 for a mortgage, and you're talking about a 7 or 8% interest rate, that becomes very unaffordable here for most of these people. Because most of these people, you think about it, these are civil servants. Most of these people are underemployed. They have to work more than one job just to make ends meet. Ends do not meet. That's why they call them ends. So anyway, let's get to the story. The 33-year-old Zohran Mamdani made inroads into the Black, Hispanic, and Asian demographics that Mr. Cuomo was expected to dominate. It says Queens Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, surprise win over, and no, it wasn't a surprise. Not to me. It wasn't a surprise. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo. I knew early on, I was like, wait a minute. That Me Too movement didn't go away. Them women are going to dog this dude. They accused him of grabbing booty. They going to dog this dude. They're not letting him back in there. Some of these people, some of these career politicians who can't do anything else, Cuomo is one of them. Anthony Weiner is another one. They think that, oh yeah, well, my time was served and I'm going to make a comeback and everything. It's like, yo, dude, they ain't letting you come back. It's like, I hope you pilfered and stole as much money as you could while you were in there because you're done. The only thing you can do at this point is retire in peace and go to like the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, or Cambodia because you're done. It's like you're done. They're not letting you back in there. So anyway, the 33-year-old also made inroads into the Black, Hispanic, and Asian demographics that Mr. Cuomo was expected to dominate. Early ranked choice voting data show Mr. Mamdani ran up his numbers in Brooklyn's crunchy granola districts, winning more than 20,000 votes in Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, Bed-Stuy, and Crown Heights compared to Mr. Cuomo's 5,500. In Brooklyn Heights, Boerum Hill, and Carroll Gardens, Mr. Mamdani again led decisively with 19,000 votes to Cuomo's 6,900, the New York Post reported. Mamdani developed a much broader coalition than you might have expected from the fact he was a Democrat socialist. You know who else is a Democrat socialist? Bernie Sanders. But every time you look at Bernie Sanders, and I was saying this back when he was running for president, the only feel the burn, as they were saying, the only burn you're going to feel is chlamydia. Bernie Sanders ain't ever going to be president. What you see right now of Bernie Sanders is all he's ever going to be. He's going to be a washed up politician. He may have gotten one thing passed a long time ago, but that's like it. He's done. Now, who you really should be worried about, if you're worried about it, I'm not worried about, but who you really should be thinking about is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She probably doesn't even really know what socialism means, but she basically, in my opinion, is a Democrat socialist, just like Mamdani. And the simple fact is, if she runs for president, she's going to win. This time, 2028, Trump ain't on the ballot. Trump is term limited. He's gone. They have nobody else in the Republican Party who can do what Trump is doing. They have nobody else. J.D. Vance doesn't stand a chance against Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Doesn't stand a chance against her. If you really look at the numbers, like the final tallies, Kamala Harris came within striking distance of a win, but she lost big electorally. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, if she runs for president, she's going to win. Either it'll be with the popular vote and the Electoral College, or it'll be the Electoral College alone. But I really believe she'll win the popular vote. After Trump is done kicking these people's asses and terrifying these people, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going to walk into office. She ain't even going to have to fight that hard. Because the next Republican president, he's going to be whoever that is. Because it's not going to be a woman, I guarantee you that. Or the person who wins the Republican primary is not going to be a woman. By 2028, no. It'll be another male, maybe even J.D. Vance. But he's going to stand trial for all the shit that Trump did. And when I say trial, I mean trial by media. And the media is not going to be friendly to him. Whoever it is, there's no way in hell they're beating Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And yeah, that'll never happen. She can't win. Just look at the trend. Look at the trend. George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush. And then you're right back to a Democrat, Obama. And then from Obama, you got, Trump. Then from Trump, you go right back over to Biden. And then from Biden, you go right back to Trump. Because Trump ran against Kamala Harris. Now, Biden would have lost if he had ran against Trump last year. But he ran against Kamala Harris. And the simple fact is the Biden economy, just like the Trump economy, was shit. You can't go simply by what the Dow Jones says. You also have to look at what's happening in the actual market. Trump's problem was the fact that COVID came out of nowhere and hit us. And that pretty much pushed him right out of office, or at least it gave Biden an edge to get him out of office. But all I'm saying is the presidency is going back and forth like a ping pong ball. And that's just what's happening. So, long story short, let me see. Let me get back to this article, because these freaking articles, they like to jump around and move to force you to see these garbage ads. But what does it say? Zohran's come from behind victory was bolstered by a surge of Asian support. Now, when they say Asian, the first thing you think of is Chinese people. No. When they say Asian, you have to understand New York has a huge population. Pakistani, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka. Yeah, there are a lot of Chinese. Yeah, there are a lot of Koreans. But they're really talking about West Asia. They're not talking about East Asia. But when they say Asian, you conjure up an image in your mind. You just think of like a Chinese person or a Japanese geisha or something. But that's not what it is. It says, if elected in November, Zohran Mamdani would become New York's first mayor of South Asian descent. Okay, now at a certain point, and I got to go to it, they were talking about this dude's, I pulled it up, and I was looking at his demographics, the people who were supporting him. It says, according to CUNY's data, 45% of Mr. Mamdani's support came from predominantly white neighborhoods with a high concentration of New York natives. Just think about that. White people in New York are hurting so much that they're willing to vote for this fucking guy. Just think about that. Where there was something else. There was another part. Oh, yes, this was the part that I was reading. Had to read this to my uncle because he just didn't believe it. And I was like, nah, this is what it is. It says, Mr. Mamdani convinced communities that typically lean towards moderate Democrats. He outperformed expectations in majority black and Hispanic areas, chipping away at Mr. Cuomo's presumed base of middle-of-the-road voters. Zohran Mamdani also carried parts of Kensington, home to a large Orthodox Jewish population with more than 70% of the vote, despite being a vocal critic of genocidal Israel and facing repeated accusations of anti-Semitism throughout the campaign. So let me explain how that's possible. Now, these are the numbers. You can't lie about this shit. They spent so much time trashing Eric Adams that they turned a lot of voters away from Eric Adams simply by connecting Eric Adams to Trump. Okay, that's my premise number one. Number two, they think that when they play the race card or the anti-Semitism card, they think that it's as easy as labeling you a racist or an anti-Semite. But the mistake that they made was they allowed the media to show what Israel was doing to Gaza for so long that now the average New Yorker is anti-Israel. That's premise number two. Premise number three, Eric Adams is going to run independent, and I believe I heard Andrew Cuomo was going to also run independent. But I think Andrew Cuomo should know at this point that he has no chance of winning. Eric Adams has a better chance of winning. But my third premise, the corporate Democrats are going to throw their money behind Mamdani. The corporate Republicans are going to throw their money behind whoever the Republican candidate is. But this state, especially because of what Trump is doing with these ICE raids, has no taste whatsoever for a Republican, at this point, governor or mayor of New York City. The rest of the state is predominantly white and predominantly Republican. The rest of the state, in their local counties, even mine, in their local counties, they may have Republican leadership, but their Republican leadership is virtually irrelevant because New York City controls New York State's electoral votes. This is why I'm saying when somebody like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gets up there and runs, she automatically has New York State because of New York City. Are you following me? So I just put forth three premises right there. I hope you remember what they were because I don't. So what is this? He's getting Jewish voters. He's getting white voters. He's getting black voters. He's getting Asian voters. He's getting Hispanic voters. There's a very, very, very good possibility. Now, Eric Adams is still going to run against him. But the problem is, the more and more they paint Eric Adams as a Trump sycophant, that is shaving away at Eric Adams' chances of winning. They don't care. Now, and it's funny, what I think is so funny about this, they're busy talking about, oh, he's a socialist, he's an anti-Semite. Yeah, well, they were saying the same thing about Barack Obama. Barack Obama, a black man with a Muslim name and an angry black church behind him with an angry black minister in that church saying, God damn America. And Barack Obama got the majority of the white vote twice. He got the popular vote twice, even against Mitt Romney. And he got the electoral majority twice. So don't think for 1 second that labeling this guy a socialist or an anti-Semite, don't think that that's going to work. Don't think that for 1 second. When these people are getting their asses kicked by rent and mortgage prices, they're getting their asses kicked by taxes and car insurance. Don't think that they're not going to vote socialist. They will. I rest my case. I mean, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in November. But something tells me Zohran Mamdani. Something tells me this guy's getting in there.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. Look, so far he's winning. He still has a race to win, but so far he's winning, and he has an advantage as a Democrat in New York City.
Donald Trump said that I should be arrested. He said that I should be deported. He said that I should be denaturalized. And he said those things about me, someone who stands to be the first immigrant mayor of this city in generations, someone who would also be the first Muslim and the first South Asian mayor in this city's history. Less so because of who I am, because of where I come from, because of how I look or how I speak, and more so because he wants to distract from what I fight for.
Today is Sunday, so this is going to be my last entry for the week. And the issue ultimately was I tried to talk about the stocks before, but my car had hijacked the microphone. So while I was speaking, the car thought that I was inside the car. So I thought that I was talking to the phone, but the car hijacked the mic. So what ended up happening was I just didn't record any sound. So all I was basically saying was the Dow is approaching 45,000. I'm guessing that because the Trump tariffs are behind us, and I'm guessing that the market has had time to adapt and to settle back to the craziness that Trump is putting forward with this tariff nonsense. But my guess is that the market is able to continue to move forward despite the fact that he caused a lot of chaos in it within the last 3 months. We're still not at Dow 45,000 yet, and we're going to continue moving forward. But there may be an issue that's caused by the fact that Trump's big, beautiful bill has finally been passed, but it removes a lot of subsidies for electric vehicles and clean energy factories too. It's really sad that America is going to end up so far behind China when it comes to technology. And, it's funny because you see all these people on TikTok, you see all these people who actually visit these other countries, and they're like, oh my goodness, wow, this is amazing. Look at these trains. Look how clean everything is. Look at how nice the buses are. Look at the technology. And then they come back to America, and we're busy funding wars for Israel and Ukraine. And speaking of Ukraine, Trump claimed that the Ukraine war was going to be over by now. He claimed it would be over very fast within the first week of his presidency. Supposedly 2 nights ago, I believe, Vladimir Putin launched like the largest assault on Ukraine that he possibly could right after he got off the phone with Trump. So apparently Ukraine peace ain't something that we're talking about anymore. I also want you to look at the news. While they're busy forcing these ICE raids forward and they're busy doing all these other things to distract us, I want you to notice they're not talking about Ukraine, and they're also not talking about what's going on in Gaza either. There's like a total blackout because shortly after we bombed that Iranian nuclear site, I'm pretty sure we didn't hit any uranium. And the proof is obvious. If we had hit those facilities and we had destroyed their enriched uranium, that stuff would have caused them to have to evacuate like the entire area because the particles are poisonous, toxic to humans. So bottom line is, I'm not going over there with a Geiger counter, and I'm pretty sure the IAEA is probably, just watching the situation, but you're never going to get the truth anyway. So the bottom line is, we'll just have to accept what they claim is the total and complete obliteration of Iran's nuclear reactors, which I will tell you right now, it's not true. I guarantee it's not true. But anyway, you're not hearing nothing from Gaza. You're not hearing nothing from Ukraine. There's a lot of foreign international issues that have just gone silent while they're busy talking about these ICE raids and while they're busy talking about these domestic issues. It's almost like the media, right and left-wing media, is working together in order to bottle it up. But you're not fooling me because I watch international media like WION. I listen to Indian news. I never thought I would listen to Indian news. I listen to Indian news. And I do watch a little bit of BBC. I have a BBC, but I watch the BBC, So anyway, as far as the market goes, Microsoft is up. Apple is still low. NVIDIA has reached its all-time highs. It's like right at the cusp of like $160. I'll just say it in short. My portfolios are at the highest that they've been simply because of NVIDIA. Well, my index is all pretty much Magnificent Seven, Mangoat, Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, Google, oil and gas stocks, and then you've got Amazon, and the last one is Tesla. Now, Tesla, under Elon Musk, they were going to be losing sales anyway because people were boycotting Elon Musk, which is another thing. You don't hear about the boycotts on Elon Musk anymore because now everybody's boycotting ICE. But anyway, Elon Musk has started his own political party, and I might save that for later. That's another story. But he promised if they voted for that big, beautiful bill, he was going to start his own political party. Naturally, Trump threatened to deport him and whatever. But the thing about it is Trump has limitations as president that Elon Musk does not have as a quarter of a trillionaire. And if Elon Musk had kept his mouth shut, he probably would have been a trillionaire right now. But he didn't keep his mouth shut. So, he's still worth over $250 billion, which basically puts him at the number one spot. But I know he's jockeying for position between number one and number two. I think Jeff Bezos is number 4, but it changes day to day based on the stock market. Bottom line is, for me, I'm just going to continue putting my money in my index, my dividend-paying funds. And I had mentioned this once or twice. If you want to start an AI trading account, Charles Schwab is probably one of the best that you can trust. It takes you $5,000 to get started, and you basically put the money in, and the AI trades for you. It diversifies for you. It reinvests dividends for you. So, it's funny. I was talking a little while ago about Trump talking about giving these women $5,000. While they would take that money and waste it on this stupid Coach Snoopy bag that I just saw, they would waste their money there. If it was me, I would take that $5,000 and I'd start an AI trading account. But, that's just me. I'm not fun. I'm here to beat the system. I'm here to make money. I'm all about the highest possible credit score I could have. I'm just, you give me a system, I will figure it out and I'll beat it. It's just that simple. And these women are wasting all their money. And if it was me, I would take that $5,000. I would put that into AI trading. And the bottom line is the AI trading plays it safe. It bets, from what I've seen, it bets on dividend payers. It does diversify. It reinvests dividends automatically, just like my, what was it called? The automatic dividend reinvestment program that Charles Schwab had. And if you're not into options trading and you don't understand options trading, that's fine, because I don't either. I just buy and hold stocks that they would consider blue chips, especially if they're dividend payers. I just buy and hold them, and I treat it like it's a glorified savings account. I also treat my house as if it's a glorified trading account. I treat my investment properties as if they're glorified savings account. What that basically means, if you put your money into the bank, you're not going to get much in interest. The banks are going to give you like nothing for interest. Like one of my accounts, I have like $29,000 in the shit, and it only gets like $2 a month in interest. That's pathetic. They've basically created a situation where you have to put your money in the stock market. So if you're going to put your money in the stock market, I always recommend diversifying. I always recommend, picking companies that you like, that have popular products, that pay dividends. And that's where you should put your money. But the option is you can use $5,000 and you can put it in an AI trading program. And Charles Schwab, from what I've experienced, has a very good one. So if you go to their website, if you're interested in doing that and you have some money that you could spare risking in the stock market, because keep in mind, it's good to have savings as liquid cash. But the problem is you get punished by having savings simply because your money is sitting in a savings account earning very little interest. The momentum is in the stock market. And I'd heard people talking about that many, many years ago, decades ago. But back then, before I was 20, I didn't really have the money, or like I didn't have anything. I didn't have good credit. I didn't have good money. My credit score was like 530. And now here I'm sitting, I got an 850 credit score, and I'm sitting in my house with a ceiling fan above me. There ain't nobody else's name on any of my property. There ain't no woman's name on my property. I'm not walking on tiptoes worried about getting a divorce so some chick will take me to court and take half my shit because she's screwing some guy at her job. No. My name, my property, my investment, period. And that's just how it is. So I got my ceiling fan running here, and I'm very proud of my ceiling fan because, somebody would love to try to take it from me, but they can't because I got this Desert Eagle here too. But the bottom line is, if you want to invest, that's what you got to do. You got to diversify, and you have to buy what you know. Like Warren Buffett, one of his rules is buy things you know, because if you buy things you don't know, chances are, that's not a good thing because you're not going to understand it. You should buy things you understand. As far as the market goes, what is this? Bitcoin is at 108. It hasn't cracked 110 yet, from what I know. Oh, that's Shiba Inu, my fault. Oh, no. Okay, so its 52-week high was 111. Yeah, if you want to go to crypto route, it's like you have to sit back on pins and needles waiting and watching. It's like if you want to invest some money in it, I mean, that's up to you. I'm not there. I'm just not there. The problem is it's a roach motel. You put your money in, you're afraid to take it out because you think if you take it out that it's going to go up. I would rather put my money in glorified savings account where I know that if I need money, that I have access to it. For instance, this house right here, this house has about $50,000 of equity in it. If I needed any of that equity, I could pull it out with, what is it, a home equity line. As far as my savings accounts, if I needed cash, I can drive to the bank and I can get cash in 10, 15 minutes. Stocks, even with my stocks, if I needed any money out of it, I can either sit back and wait for the dividends to be paid, and they actually tell you exactly the dates you get dividends. They have a calendar in the system for it. Or I can cash out. If I cashed out NVIDIA right now, that would be, and I wouldn't do it. I'm going to hold NVIDIA for the next 10 years. If I cashed out NVIDIA right now, that would be a big, fat chunk of change. Now, I would have to pay 20%, capital gains tax. But I'm not going to do that shit. I'm going to let that money sit and ride. It's just going to ride. NVIDIA is pulling the train. Now, NVIDIA is worried that sooner or later China's Huawei is going to get ahead of it, but I'm not worried about that for right now. NVIDIA is number one. They're second to none, and they're doing their thing, and I'm going to let that money ride. Microsoft, I tried, and I don't, so it's funny. I don't delete any of my videos. If you go all the way back to 2020, I was saying the same shit then. And now everything that I was suggesting that you get into, with the exception of some of the Chinese automakers, because I didn't see Trump passing the it's called the Holding Foreign Companies Accountable Act. I didn't see Trump planning to go to war with China, a trade war. So those things may be down for now. But if you hold them, you haven't really lost. You don't lose until you sell. Everything else I told you about, Mangoat, all of it's up. As you can see, it's all up. Especially NVIDIA. But my NVIDIA alone has taken over my portfolios. NVIDIA now accounts for more than 30% of my portfolios. Microsoft, I'm also happy with. My recommendations, again, credit cards and banks. Goldman Sachs has been making very, very quick moves upwards. I believe that by the time they get to about $1,000 a share, they're going to announce a stock split. So that means they have another $275 to go, or $277 to go until they get to about $1,000. I think they're going to end up having a stock split. Goldman Sachs is on the move. $723 a share right now. I was telling you about Goldman Sachs back when it was like $400. It was below $400. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, all of them up. Bank of America, all that stuff's up. Wells Fargo, I was telling you about Wells Fargo at $56. And it's $83 now. So what I've always said, the same shit. I never deviate. I keep it simple. Banks and oil. You can't go wrong with banks and oil. Everybody needs banks. Credit cards need banks. Oil is what runs this whole freaking economy. The trains need oil. The cars need oil. The planes need oil. I think you get the point. So that's pretty much what I was trying to say. But I was, the mute button on the car mutes one of the mics and this, that, and other. So bottom line is, that's all for now. This is ending July 6th. So maybe in the middle of the week, or maybe on next Saturday or next Sunday, I'll do an update video.
To be continued.